Hello, apostates. Welcome to another edition of the Mormon Atheist. Uh, I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of your day to stop by and say hello to the Mormon Atheist and the Apostate Congregation. So before I get into today's episode, I have a crazy episode for you guys today. We're going to talk about are the Joseph Smith papers a fraud? Okay, and that's a big deal. That's a big claim, right? So like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Apostates, I know that you have subscribed already, and you go back and you watch the previous videos and you watch how I grow and learn. Okay, and my last two videos are going to kind of play a role in today's episode, right? Okay, so today is August 17th, 2025. I want to start out, apostates, by asking three questions, right? What are we told? What do we believe? And why? Okay. Now, I made a huge claim. Are the Joseph Smith papers a fraud, right? Okay, well, so we're going to get into a book today, and we're going to get into my daily events that took place as well before we get started here. And we're going to go into this, and we're going to go into some very grave detail. So you're going to need to get your pencils and paper ready. Apostates, take some notes, rewind the video, because I'm going to get kind of heavy on you tonight, because I've made some of these claims in the past on my other videos, right? I'm talking about, in my other videos, I'm talking about how there's a Book of Mormon that all of these books talk about, right? Because the premise of my show is we read old contemporary books of Joseph Smith's day, right? And so these authors, they keep reciting these page numbers, and they have passages. So in doing my due diligence, I've, over time, I have been searching for this Book of Mormon that they're talking about in these old books, and I can't find it. I've got three here today, physical copies that we're going to talk about, and we're going to talk about the Joseph Smith paper Book of Mormon. Okay, so I think I finally figured it out. Okay, and this all came about today by doing some research on William Morgan, right? Because you guys all know that we are William Morgan. We are the first whistleblowers, right? William Morgan was the first whistleblower. So we are now the whistleblowers. We are William Morgan, right? You'll have to watch my past videos to understand what that means, right? So tonight I'm going to further prove my point on this whole thing. This whole thing is a fraud, right? And the entire thing, we're going to talk about the Joseph Smith papers, this book that I was reading, for Book of Mormons. Okay, I'm going to get kind of heavy on you guys, all right? Okay, it started with the page numbers to the Book of Mormons, right? Okay, so in these old books, right, and today the book I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to get to all of this stuff I'm going to get to, so bear with me. Just bear with me, I'll get to it, okay? The page numbers don't exist, okay, in these old books I'm reading, right? Mormonism Portrayed, Gleaning by the Way, this book I'm reading now that I'm going to tell you about tonight, and there's several other ones, right? And they mention these page numbers, and they're reciting out of the Book of Mormon. And when me and you read these passages, we know exactly what they are, and we know, but my point being is I can't find them in the book. The page number that these authors say, page blah, 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 well, if you go to your Book of Mormon, your Brighamite Book of Mormon, and you look up that page, it's not there. But you can copy and paste that passage, right, to Google or whatever your thing is, and it will give you the page number. So it's there, it's in the book, but then you read it and it's not the same. Okay, that's just the Brighamite book. You get into the Church of Christ Book of Mormon, and it's totally different. Totally different. Okay, so my point is what Book of Mormon are these people talking about? Okay, because we know it's not the Brighamite, we know it's not the Church of Christ. So is it the Joseph Smith Papers? Okay, so that's going to be what we're going to be talking about. We're going to compare these books, and we're going to try to pinpoint what book are these authors talking about. Okay, so I started researching this, and this is what I came up with. Right, you gotta stay with me, because I'm going to blow apostates. I cannot impress enough that dates matter. Okay, dates matter. When you guys are reading these books along with me, and you guys comment all the time about how you're reading, this book or whatever, and you came up on this or whatever, right? A lot of this stuff scholars aren't taught. There is no scholarship on this particular, what I'm talking about right now. I could not find any scholarship whatsoever. None. None, zero. So this is a first, okay? You are hearing it for the first time. You are literally going to witness what I'm going to show you for the first time ever. Okay, so let's get going. Let's get into it, right? Okay, like and subscribe, apostates. LDS scholarship is a complete fraud. LDS history is a total fraud. And at the end of my presentation, I'm going to come back to that statement, and I'm going to ask you the same question, okay? All right, so everything that's ever been written, published, videos, etc., anything that's on the Book of Mormon that is in the Joseph Smith Papers is a 100% fraud, as far as it's touting that is the original 1830 version. I'm going to prove to you tonight that is not, one more time, that is not the 1830 version. And I'm going to show you right now, okay? And that's the Joseph Smith Papers, apostates. Okay? Do you understand the severity of what I'm saying here, right? It's a fraud, okay? All right. It's bad scholarship, it's bad history, it's all bad, okay? This book, okay, the name of the book, okay, you're gonna have to pause it and rewind it, because this is like a paragraph. No shit, it's a paragraph. The name of this book, okay? All right, I'll put a link to it in the description after, okay? Because I didn't even think about it, but I'll put a link in the description to it after. All right, the name of the book is called Mormon Fanaticism Exposed. A compendium of the Book of Mormon, or Joseph Smith's Golden Bible. Also, the examination of its internal and external evidences, with the argument to refute its pretenses to a revelation from God, by Tyler Parsons, 1841. That's the name of the book. You can go to archive.org, and you can. That's actually the link that I'm going to put up, because that's what I read. That's what I'm still currently reading it. I haven't even finished it, and I'm bringing it, which I never do this stuff, apostates. I never do not finish a book before I bring it to you. But this is so important, and it's kind of doesn't really even have anything to do with the book, to be honest with you, what my presentation is. But I got this idea while I was reading the book, so I kind of feel obligated to mention the book, right? Because the muse has led me here, and the muse told me. So this presentation is strictly on page 6 of this book, okay? So far, it's only 105 pages, and I haven't even finished it, Apostates. I'm on page like 25, okay? Because I couldn't stop thinking about this, and these page numbers kept coming up, and the muse kept hitting me, right? So 1841 is important because Joseph Smith is still alive, right? Okay, like I said before, I was researching William Morgan. So I will eventually do a legit presentation on this book. Okay, so this is just something it's just been bothering me, right? And it's a huge clarification, right? So let's get into it. The exact passages, the exact quotes, all this stuff. Okay, so this book talks about William Morgan. Okay, that's going to be a cliffhanger for the next episode, because the entire reason I'm even reading this book is specifically because of William Morgan. Okay, so that's going to be my next episode. So that tells you my fascination with William Morgan and how this takes precedence, right? So on page 6, okay, he starts naming page numbers, and on this page number there's this, on this page number there's that. It's not important as to what the page numbers are, because there's several of them, and if you not if but when you read the book yourself, you will clearly see exactly what I'm talking about. So again, they're what Book of Mormon are these guys talking about, right? Because he starts talking about First Nephi, right? He actually gives a list in that book, right? The author, Tyler Parsons, gives a list: First Nephi, Second Nephi, Book of Jacob, and Apostates. I want you to pay attention to the wording, okay? Because everything is a clue. We're looking for clues, Apostates. That's what this presentation is about: is to show you how you can search for this stuff yourself, and things that don't make sense, words that don't sound right. Look that stuff up, because that's what I did, and this is what I came up with. First Nephi, he talks about, right? First and Second Nephi, he calls it the Book of 1 Nephi. First and Second, the Book of 1 Nephi is what it's called. Stay with me, Apostates. This gets heavy. Okay. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to compare, because in this book, he gives you the books and the page lengths, how many pages are in the Book of Jacob, the Book of Enos, the Book of Jerome. Okay, he tells you how many pages are in those books. So let's go to these books. Are there the same page numbers? Are there the same chapters? If not, why? And if not, when does it change? You see the questions, Apostates. You see you see where I'm going with this now, right? So we're going to compare the book he's talking about in that book, right? Parsons, these two books, and I have an added bonus for you, Apostates: the Deseret Alphabet Book of Mormon. None of you have ever heard of this Book of Mormon before. It's the Deseret Alphabet Book of Mormon. This Book of Mormon was written in what's called the Deseret Alphabet. You can Google that, Deseret Alphabet, and it'll tell you all about this book, the alphabet, who came up with it. This book, my point with this book is not the alphabet. We're going to get into the points of this book in a minute, but the alphabet and the weirdness of that has nothing to do with this presentation. Okay? So we're going to compare all of these books and their page numbers, right? Just only their page numbers. Okay? So we also want to look at the wording, though, right? The book It's called Book of Jacob. Okay, it's not called the Book of Jacob. It's not just called Jacob. It's called Book of Jacob. Book of Enos. Book. Okay, First and Second Nephi combined has 122 pages. The Church of Christ, okay, First Nephi combined has 89 pages, but it's in this book. It has been separated into two separate books, First and Second Nephi. Okay, Enos in the book that Parsons is talking about has 3 pages. Back up. I forgot to tell you. Okay, the LDS Church, Book of Nephi. Book of Nephi has 117 pages combined. Okay. Okay. Book of Jacob, LDS has 19 pages. Okay. So Book of Jacob in the book has 21 pages. Church of Christ, 28 pages. LDS, 19 pages. Book of Enos, Parsons book, 3 pages. Church of Christ, equivalent, 3 pages. LDS, 2 pages. Book of Jerome, 2 pages. Parsons book, Church of Christ, 3 pages. LDS, 2 pages. Book of Omen. This is important, apostates. Book of Omen. Okay, me and you know this is Omni, but this is so important right here. Omen. Book of Omen, 4 pages. Parsons book. Church of Christ, equivalent. LDS Church, 3 pages. The Words of Mormon, 3 pages in Parsons book. Church of Christ, equivalent. LDS, 2 pages. Book of Messiah, not Mosiah, Messiah. That's important. Dates matter, Apostate Congregation. Like and subscribe to the channel. Book of Messiah, 68 pages in Parsons book. Church of Christ, 91 pages. LDS Church, 62 pages. Book of Alma, Parsons book, 186 pages. Church of Christ, 244 pages. LDS Church, 161 pages. Book of Helaman, Parsons book, 44 pages. Church of Christ Book of Mormon, 58 pages. LDS Book of Mormon, 38 pages. You see the differences in the page numbers, right? Okay. Book of Nephi, 66 pages. Church of Christ, 81 pages. The Book of Nephi, okay, this is important because there's no 3rd or 4th Nephi. It's called the Book of Nephi simply. It's a longer title. It's called the Sons of Helaman or something like that. I have it written down. We'll get into that. But it's so this is what me and you would call 3rd and 4th Nephi. But here in Parsons' book, it's just called Book of Nephi. Okay, and it's 66 pages long. Okay, in the Church of Christ, let's see. It has 3rd and 4th Nephi. That's very important. Words matter. Words matter. These are the details that I am getting on Mormon historians about. Mormon historians and Mormon scholars. These details, and I'm going to show you why. Okay, let's continue. Okay, Church of Christ, Book of Nephi, what me and you call 3rd and 4th Nephi, is 81 pages. LDS is 63 pages. Okay, here's another thing. Book of Mormon, 20 pages. in Parsons' book, Church of Christ, 27 pages. LDS Church, Book of Mormon is 18 pages. Book of Ether, Parsons' book is 35 pages. Church of Christ is 46 pages. LDS Church is 31 pages. The last book in the Book of Mormon, me and you know this book as Moroni. Okay? In Parsons' book, it's called the Book of Mormon. Okay? That is significant, apostates. Stay with me. I know you guys are all chomping at the bit right now. All of you are. Stay with me, though. Okay, so things that I want you to notice. These page numbers, the reason I wrote these out is because in LDS story, in LDS history, if you Google this stuff, the Brighamite Book of Mormon, okay, is supposed to have gone through changes in order to make it more comprehensible, make it more all this kind of stuff. But as I showed you in the last video, in the first Nephi, it's only 15 chapters long, and in the Church of Christ and in First Nephi in the Brighamite, it's 33 chapters long. Okay, so you have to ask why, though, because that's a lot more significant than just punctuations. You're talking literally double, more than double, 2 chapters more than double. So punctuation is not just going to give you 2 complete what is that, 17 extra chapters? Okay, so you have to ask what's going on here, right? Okay, these page numbers are significant because the LDS Church is said to have taken the original, Joseph Smith's original Book of Mormon, because it was too long and run on sentences and all this, and they shortened them down. Okay, so if you go along with these page numbers, that kind of makes sense, because if you look at the Church of Christ Book of Mormon, the Church of Christ is touted as the first Book of Mormon, right? The printer's manuscript. I'm about to debunk that whole thing tonight. So this is one of my personal theories, is this is the first book. So I'm debunking my theory tonight, okay, apostates. I want you to understand, we follow the truth, we follow the evidence. I can be wrong, and I will admit 100% when I'm wrong. And tonight, I am going to admit that I am wrong about this book. Not in the way that you think, though. Okay. So anyways, that makes sense, because if you read this Book of Mormon, okay, the structure of it does run on, and it's, all that kind of stuff, right? But here's the important thing with this book. I want you to know the chapters, okay? Chapters and verses. Chapters and verses, okay? Just a random chapter. What is not here, apostates? The heading. That heading is not there. But what is here, apostates? Chapters and verses. Okay? Important stuff. Important stuff. Brighamite Book of Mormon. Random page number. Let's go to chapter 2. You got chapters. Okay? You got verses. You have that divide down the middle. And you got that header right there. Important stuff. Important stuff, apostates. Okay? Connecting the dots on this channel is so important. You must connect the dots, and everything has to do with dates. Dates matter. So when these people, I'm going to use a line from another channel I like to watch. These guys got you in the back alley with their finger in your bunghole, man. They got you in the back alley, these historians and these scholars. Okay? What I just showed you is, let's keep going. Okay. So now that we said the Church of Christ, it makes sense because the Church of Christ is kind of run on, and according to the numbers don't lie. According to the numbers, all of the chapters, the LDS versions are shorter. They are shorter. But that still doesn't account for Parsons' Book of Mormon. Where's Parsons' Book of Mormon coming from? So we can explain these two just based on page numbers. Okay, we're going to get into way more detail than that, though. Don't think I'm stopping there, Apostate Congregation, because that's selling you short, it's selling me short. Okay, all of these old books, they all talk about how like the revelations are a part of the book, like the revelation is in the book. You know, there's not two separate books. There's not there certainly is no Doctrine and Covenants. Let's be clear about that. A book called the Doctrine and Covenants does not exist in the time frame that we are talking about. There is a Book of Commandments. There's a Book of Covenants, but there's no Doctrine and Covenants, right? But in a lot of these books, though, they're talking about how the revelations, what we call section 9, section 10, whatever, right, are part of the book. They're not separate sections, but they don't specifically say that. They're just telling you a story, right? So you have to pick up on these context clues of things that are not said, things that are said. These are clues, apostates, that you have to, when you're reading a book written in 1841, I think it's important to know what Book of Mormon they are talking about. And I've been doing this channel for a year and a half now, almost 2 years, and I just today figured it out. I figured it out. Okay? There's an unfortunate side to this story, though. Okay, so the summaries at the top of each chapter, this is important, apostates. The summaries, the headers, right? The headers, those do not appear until the 1920 edition of the Book of Mormon. 1921 to be exact. They appear in partial, they're partials. They refer to them as partial. Partial headers is what they're called. They're partial headers. That's in the 1921 version. So anything before 1921, those versions do not have that header. Okay, let's look at the Church of Christ again, apostates. Chapter 2. Do you see a header? No, but you do see chapters and verses. We'll get there. Stay with me. Okay. No prior chapter headings. Okay, these are clues, apostate congregations. Okay. The 1921 is the exact version, is when this starts to see the headings. So with that being said, apostates, if you see a historian talking about the Book of Mormon in a certain time frame, you'll know he's got you in the back alley based on these dates I'm about to give you. Okay? And the Joseph Smith papers are part of this. Okay? You can go to the Joseph Smith papers. I'll just tell it to you right now. Log on, go to the Joseph Smith papers. Look up the Book of Mormon, the Palmyra 1830 edition Book of Mormon. What do you see above each chapter in that Book of Mormon? I'll sit here and wait for you to come back, apostates. You see headers. That's what you see in there. You see header, and you don't see the partial headers. You see the full header. That full header does not come out until 1981, apostates. 1981 version of the Book of Mormon is when that full header comes out. So I don't care how you look at it, whether you want to say it's the 21 or the 81 version, 1921 or 1981. That Book of Mormon in the Joseph Smith papers, verifiably, just based on that, we're going to get into some other stuff, alone says it's a fraud. Okay, apostates, do you understand? Go ahead and log on it now. Okay. But you also see chapters. Yes, I believe you see chapters. No, you don't see verses. You do see chapters, but you do not see verses. We're going to get into the chapters. Okay. So if someone is talking to you about the Book of Mormon and they're selling you that header is a dead giveaway. If they're talking about 1844 in the first edition of the Book of Mormon in 1830, and it has that header, even if it has chapters and verses, you know right off the bat, they're selling you a bag of bullshit. They got you in the back alley and their finger is firmly up your backside. Okay? These are clues, apostates. Okay, so, but again, what book is Parsons talking about? It's still not the Joseph Smith papers, because the Joseph Smith paper book doesn't, that's the 19, at best, that's the 1921 version, the Joseph Smith paper Book of Mormon, at best. Okay? Depending on how you want to classify those headers, it's either an 81 or an 80 version. Okay, it has been altered and changed. It's a complete fucking fraud. It's a fraud. It's got those headers and chapters. Okay, there are no prior chapter headings. No, these are clues, right? Okay, so all right, so let's get back to where I was. I lost my place. Yeah, everything comes up with those headers. It's always something someone's put together. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So if you Google it, you can actually go to archive.org and you can Google the Palmyra 1830 version of the Book of Mormon. And there's a couple different things that will pop up, right? Well, there's a few of them that come up that are like scholarly, they're scholarly quoted. But they have chapters and verses and headers, and they're quoting this thing as the original 1830 Book of Mormon. But it looks old. It looks old. It's all beat up and worn out, and you would never know the difference. I mean, this is like a Mark Hoffman type shit, right? You know, no wonder why they didn't like Mark Hoffman, because he was doing to them what they're doing to us. Do you understand, apostates? It's a fraud. It's a forgery. The whole thing is a fraud, okay? Go on there and look at it yourself. Go look at it yourself. Do your own homework. This is an interactive channel. I tell everybody to do your own research. You guys all know this. Like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, apostates. We're kind of just getting started here. So, all right, these are clues. So let's keep going. Chapters and verses. 1879, apostates. 1879. That edition of the Book of Mormon, Orson Pratt edition. Okay, 1830 or 1879 edition. That is the first book where you get the individual chapter and page numbers. Okay. 1879. There are no chapter and page numbers prior to that. It's all one continuous text. It reads like a book. Okay. It reads like a book. There's no chapters and page, like it's none of that. It's the Book of Omni. And that's it, the Book of Omni. It's not chapter 1, chapter 2, verse 3, verse 4. It's the Book of Omni. It's the Book of Alma. It's not chapter 1, 2, 3, 4. 1879, Orson Pratt inserts that. These are clues, apostates. Do you understand? Are you hearing me? Okay. Scholars, where are you? I ask, where are you? Why is the Mormon Atheist finding this? There is no scholarship on this whatsoever that I could find. If you can find it, throw it out there. Put it up there. Comment in the section, whatever, right? Okay. But there's scholarship on this. I want to be clear. There's scholarship on this, but not linking this together like this in the way that I'm doing it, right? Okay. So 1879, Orson Pratt created the chapters and verses, right? The page divisions. That's it. So prior to 79, okay, so once again, if scholars and historians and all this kind of stuff are quoting to you chapters and verses, they are not quoting to you the original 1830 Book of Mormon. Okay. In these books, you have to remember, Parsons' book comes out in 1841. Gleaning by the Way comes out in 43. Mormonism Portrayed comes out in 40. Okay. This book comes out in 41. These people are talking about a Book of Mormon that does not exist today. Today, there is no Book of Mormon that these people are talking about. But there's things that we know, apostates. We know that in 30, was it 34 or 30, 37? 1837, which we're going to get into that. Omni, this is where Omni comes in. I'll just wait. Let's just keep going. Okay, so 79, Orson Pratt. So anybody is talking to you about verses and chapters, they are talking about a post-79 Book of Mormon, 1879 Book of Mormon. They're talking specifically about the Orson Pratt version, the LDS version. That is also, fun fact, considered to be that is the official LDS version of the Book of Mormon. That is when it becomes the official LDS version of the Book of Mormon. Is in 1879, apostates. Did you know that? Yeah, 100%. Fun fact. So LDS-ism, right? Brighamite-ism, more or less really begins in 1879, right? That's really when that version starts that we all know today. This is what we all know today. The 1879 version is literally what we all know today, right? This is what we're all taught. They change it again in 21. They changed it again in 81. And I have my version is 1984. I have a 1984 version of the Book of Mormon. Okay, so Palmyra edition 1830 was more like a book, continuous text with only paragraph breaks. It only had paragraph breaks, right? None of these books that we're reading ever talks about any chapters. They never say any chapters or verse. They never say refer to chapter this or chapter that or verse this or that. It's always just page number. And then, so what does that mean? Right? It backs up the story of it reads like a book. So these authors are backing up that story without even realizing it. Do you understand? Clues, apostates. Okay? So they're backing up that story, right? It's continuous text with only paragraph breaks. That is the story of the original Book of Mormon. Okay? It's not the once you insert chapters and paragraphs, go to Joseph Smith Papers and you have that header. Once that header takes place, you know you're in the back alley. When you see chapters, the only difference between the Joseph Smith Papers is there's no verses. None of these books talk about any headers, chapters. In fact, the Mormon story itself says there are no chapters. There are no headers. Those were all added later. That's the Mormon's own story. So, what is the Joseph Smith Book of Mormon on the Joseph Smith Papers? Do you understand how you're in the back alley? Okay? All right. Okay, so all right, so the 1981 has the full headings. The 21 edition is when they very first come out, and they're not complete. They're partial headings. They say they're partial headings, right? Okay, so in the Church of Christ version, there are no headings. So you know right off the bat, and here's where I'm going to debunk myself. I have been saying that this is the original Book of Mormon, Church of Christ Book of Mormon. Joseph Smith's original Book of Mormon. That's what this church says. That's why I say that, is because I went to this church, Temple Lot, Church of Christ in Missouri, Temple Lot, and I got this book, and I talked to the curator guy there. He's an Australian guy. He speaks in Bible verses. If you ask him a question, he answers you in Bible quotes, Bible passages. Fascinating guy. I was so fascinated by this guy. I was so intrigued by this guy. We talked for like 3 hours because I know the Bible pretty well, okay? And so I was able to talk to him, right? So anyways, that's their story. This is the original Church of Christ, Book of Mormon, Joseph Smith's original. It says it on this stupid thing. Look, but this is what I noticed today getting ready for this presentation. Words matter, apostates, and I did not catch this. Words matter. This says compared to the printer's manuscript. That word compared, I personally dismissed. I was like, huh, well, that just has to mean that it's like copied, right? It's compared, it's copied. No. Remember what I just said, apostates? When did Orson Pratt begin chapter and verses? 1879. Apostates, this is the Church of Christ, Book of Mormon. Tell me what you see there. You see chapters and verses, don't you? So right off the bat, that tells you that this book is not the original Book of Mormon. It's compared to the printer's manuscript. And the reason we say that is because of the structure. Now are you starting, is the wheel starting to spin, apostates? Are you starting to look at this and saying, what the F? How is it that the Mormon atheist did this and no Mormon historian has ever done this? No scholar, no Mormon scholar has ever done this. You are the first, apostates, to ever witness this. This is not, my heart sank. My heart sank because my entire channel is based on this fucking book right here. And to come find out that it's not the original book, because the page numbers and stuff that we're going to get into some more clues. Let's keep going. There's more to this story. It's not just this. There's more to the story. So the Church of Christ right off the bat has to be the 1879 version. It's got to be. There's no headers. There's no chapter headers. There's no chapter headers. So this book could not be printed or written after 1921. So it fits in with 79. This is the 79 version. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, remember the Joseph Smith Papers has the headings and the chapters, but no verses. The attack of Mark Hoffman, okay? Those headings are a dead giveaway. 1921 or 1981. It cannot be older than that if it has those headings on it, okay? So what book is that? Apostates, do you understand? That Joseph Smith Papers book that's said to be the original 1830 version of the Book of Mormon. Do you see how this, do you see why I don't use church websites? I do not use church sources on this site, and this is why. This is one of many reasons why. You can't even go to the church's own website and believe their own story. And every single historian, every LDS scholar, they go to the Joseph Smith Papers and they use those for their own scholarship. I just poked, I'm only halfway through and I poked probably 15 holes in which edition of the Book of Mormon they're even talking about, and how they have not picked up on this, right? Because these Book of Mormons are very different. The Church of Christ, the sentiment of this book, the meaning and all of that is so different than this. Punctuation, you see, apostates, there's more to punctuation than just moving around the dot and the apostrophe. You can seriously alter an entire paragraph by moving an apostrophe. You can alter the entire meaning of an entire paragraph by altering something as simple as an apostrophe in one sentence in that paragraph. So there's more to this than just they changed the punctuation. When they changed the punctuation, they changed the meaning. They literally changed the meaning of the text, because when you read the Church of Christ, it reads very, very differently than the Brighamite Book of Mormon. Okay. All right. So where's the scholars at? Where are these scholars, right? How come, how can a scholar explain this? How can you put this in front of a scholar, right? Further evidence is in the Joseph Smith Papers. Now, let's get into 3rd and 4th Nephi. You remember in the first of the video, I said 3rd and 4th Nephi. There is no 4th Nephi at all. At all. Go ahead and gasp. Look down. If you need to go smoke a cigarette, go smoke a cigarette. There's no 4th Nephi, apostates. Okay? The Church of Christ. This has 3rd and 4th Nephi. 3rd and 4th Nephi. Well, wait a minute. Mormon Atheist, didn't you just say there's no 4th Nephi? Yes, I did. The Church of Christ has 3rd and 4th Nephi. Okay. In Parsons' book, remember, it's just the Book of Nephi, right? And it's not numbered 3rd Nephi. It's not anything. It's the Book of Nephi. Okay, and I got to find the name of it, right? It's the Book of Nephi. Oh, here it is. The Book of Nephi, the son of Nephi, who was the son of Helaman. Now, if you remember in your chronological order of your Book of Mormon, Helaman is the chapter right before 3rd Nephi, right? Okay. This is important, apostates. Stay with me here. Okay. So there's no specific, it would be a 3rd story of Nephi, but it's only called the Book of Nephi, the son of Nephi, who was the son of Helaman. That is the title of what me and you call 3rd Nephi. But there is no 4th Nephi at all, okay? At all, okay? So in the Book of Mormon, okay? So the last chapter in the Book of Mormon, we know that chapter as Moroni, okay? In the Church of Christ version, it's Moroni. LDS version, it's Moroni. In the Deseret alphabet, it's Moroni. Everything is Moroni. Okay? But that's not what it was originally called. Okay? So here's the bombshell. Okay? So in 1879, Orson Pratt edition is the first edition where specifically 3rd and 4th Nephi appeared. That's the first edition they appeared as separate books. There is no 4th Nephi until the 1879 version, Orson Pratt version of the Book of Mormon. So these things keep adding up, apostates. Do you understand? We have chapters and verses, Orson Pratt. We have third and 4th Nephi appear there. That's where 4th Nephi actually appears. Is the very first time is in the 79 edition of the Book of Mormon, right? Okay. And he also changed it to just shit, what did he change it to? The Book of Nephi, right? Oh, 4th Book of Nephi, or 3rd and 4th Book of Nephi, yeah. Okay. So Orson Pratt is doing, are you seeing a pattern here? He's doing a lot of stuff. He's alternating the hell out of this book. Plus he's doing punctuation. Plus he's doing word changes. He's completely altering the original Book of Mormon. How can I say that, apostates? Is there another version? Go back to the Joseph Smith papers, right? That's marked as the original 1830 version, apostates. These are all clues. When you add this stuff up, there is no possible way the Joseph Smith paper, Book of Mormon, that's in that website as the 1830 Palmyra edition, there is no way possible that's true. It's just factually not possible. Okay? Okay, so 1879 is also the first time 3rd of Nephi is used with not just the longer name. Okay. Let's go back to Omni. You remember Omni, right? Where I said the Book of Omen. The Book of Omen. Me and you know it as Omni. Was that a misprint? Could have been. Was it on purpose? Could have been. Was somebody just messing with Joseph? Could have been. But nonetheless, it's a clue. The Book of Omen. O-M-I-N. Omen. Okay? The Book of Mormon, the Book of Moroni was called the Book of Mormon, not the Book of Moroni. It's called the Book of Mormon. Okay? So 1837, okay, it was changed by Joseph Smith himself. Remember, apostates, he changed it 2 times himself, 1837 and 1840. Those were the only 2 times the Book of Mormon was ever tampered with, altered, anything by Joseph Smith himself. Okay. There is an 1835 edition that Joseph and Orson Pratt tampered with. It was mainly Orson Pratt, and Joseph Smith approved it. But the 37 and the 40 editions, he did himself, right? Okay, that's important because that's when Omni or Omen gets changed to Omni. That's a clue. That's how we know, again, this is fact. This is on the LDS paper. This is on their websites all over the place. This is fact. This is a known fact. This is not me making this up. This is not anything. This is a known fact. It's a clue, apostates. So you know that if you go to the Joseph Smith papers, look at that Book of Mormon, and tell me, is there a 3rd and 4th Nephi? Remember, 1879 is our magic number. We have, is there a Book of Omni? Is there a Book of Moroni? Are there chapters, are there verses, and are there headings? The only thing that is not there that I just said are the verses. Everything else is there. So we can date that Book of Mormon just based on that information. That Book of Mormon has 3rd and 4th Nephi in it. That Book of Mormon has, okay, so that Book of Mormon is the original first LDS edition of the Book of Mormon. That's what history says anyways. That's literally what history says, is that is the first LDS edition, approved LDS Brighamite edition of the Book of Mormon, is the 1879 edition. And look at all of the changes. And then you go to the Joseph Smith papers and you look at that Book of Mormon. It's on those, that's being touted to you and me as the original printer press version, 1830 version, Palmyra edition of the Book of Mormon. Okay? It has Omni, not Omen, Omni. It has Moroni, not the Book of Mormon, Moroni, as the last chapter in the Book of Mormon. So that tells you the Joseph Smith paper, Book of Mormon, is a complete fraud. It's a complete hoax. Okay? For all of you just joining, like and subscribe to the channel. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, you'll have to go back and watch it from the beginning. It gets pretty heavy, right? So now we know what to look for, apostates. We know a methodology, right? We know how to do this. We know what we're looking for, right? We're looking for strange words, things that don't add up, things that don't, something that catches your mind, right? If something's not passing your smell test, look it up, Google it, research it, go down that hole, because that's literally, I put this presentation together tonight, looking for something completely different. I was looking for William Morgan, and I'm reading a book about William Morgan, but it's a book on Mormonism, but William Morgan is in the book, and that's what I'm reading the book for. And I've talked about this on other videos, but I've never gotten specifically into it, right? So we know, back to my question, we know what Book of Mormon these authors are now talking about. They are talking about the original Book of Mormon, which we do not have any version or copy, or we don't have anything of that today. We have no idea. We have nothing that's pre-1879. We don't have anything that's pre-1879. So this is starting to back up my theory, apostates. Remember when I told you in these books the other day, or a couple of videos, the last 2 or 3 videos, I've been talking about how in some of these books they say that there is no Book of Mormon. Nobody can produce a Book of Mormon, right? Everybody knows about a Book of Mormon. Everybody knows the story of the Book of Mormon, but nobody can physically produce a copy of the Book of Mormon. And then there's other sources that say there's, at the time that the Book of Mormon was made, there was only 15 copies. You see how reading these books and going down these rabbit holes gets you to these places? Once you start reading these and you start putting these together, and when you start reading enough of the, I've been doing this for 1.5 years. Every single one of my episodes is a different book. And in those episodes, I talk about other books. So the episode is just not necessarily about one book. I talk about, how many books have I mentioned in this episode right now? Okay. Several. That's how all of my episodes are, right? So when you start reading these books and when you start gathering this information, and when you start, I literally take notes. I collect notes. I have I have physical written notes. I have probably 5 notebooks. I have stuff online that I keep. I have, so, when you start accumulating this and we start asking these questions, and then all of these dots start to make sense, and you start to realize, and you ask yourself the question, what do we know? What do we even believe? Why? Why do we believe? Why do we believe what we believe? And you can take that methodology to any religion, the Bible, anything. Why do you believe what you believe? Because you were told that. You see, apostates, the Renaissance is here, right? There's been several Renaissances throughout history, throughout time, and they all go back to the ancient Greek, not the mythology, the Greek mythology. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the literature, the muse, the arts, the theater, this kind of stuff, right? They all go back to the muse, right? They all go back to the Greek. That's where we're at right now, because everybody's so fed up with all of this religious bullshit nonsense, right? I mean, if you think what's happening in the Middle East is not religious based, you are literally an idiot. You're an idiot. They've been fighting for 5,000 years, 4,000 years, man. Come on. It's all religious based, and they're trying to shove this shit down our throat. Here in America, it's Christianity. Oh, we got a Christian this, Christian that, Jewish this, Jewish that. And if you say anything against it, all of a sudden you're anti this, anti that. It's like, no, dude, I just don't want your shit thrown down my throat. I don't want your religion, okay? I do not want your religion. So poke holes in it. There's nobody that does this to the Book of Mormon. There's no critical scholarship of the Book of Mormon that's in a critical way. That's everything is faith-based or it's non-offensive. We don't want to offend you. That's not how scholarship works. That's not how scholarship works. I'm sorry if your feelings are hurt. I'm not a scholar, but for fuck's sake, man. In this presentation, I just blew every scholar known to man that's ever walked on planet LDS scholarship away. And you witnessed it, Apostate Congregation. And this is just some of the stuff. This is just what I threw together tonight in a couple of hours. This isn't even like, this is, I mean, it goes way deeper than this. We're all being sold a bag of bullshit, all of us. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish, Christian, Mormon, Islam. It doesn't matter. Jehovah Witness, Scientology, it's all bullshit. Go back to the Muse. That's what the Renaissance. They're all going back trying to figure it out. Nobody knows. Nobody knows where we came from. Nobody knows where we go when we die. Nobody knows. And this is what religion is. It's an attempt to answer these questions. It started with the Greeks, but they're on all kinds of drugs. Ask yourself what, not who, but what is a Christ? Go to the Greek lexicon. What is a Christ? Not who, but what is a Christ? And read some of the stuff. You want to go down the rabbit holes I go down. This is actually the rabbit holes I go down. This Mormonism stuff is my spare time stuff. That right there, what I just told you, will send you on a, you'll never watch another Mormon video ever again. Oh, shit, dude. Yeah. All right. So, Apostate Congregation. That's all I have for you tonight. It was fast. It was furious. It was hard hitting. I hope it's even coherent what I said. I don't know. But anyways, so this is what I got for tonight. This is how you know when these scholars and these historians are talking Mormonism, and when they're talking about the Book of Mormon and they're telling you Mormon history, okay? You know, another rabbit hole you can go down is the Lucy Mack story, right? Did you know that Orson Pratt is actually the one that wrote that book? That is not Lucy Pratt's book. Okay, Orson Pratt, you can Google it, look it up. Orson Pratt wrote that story. It's her story, but he wrote it. It's Orson Pratt and Lucy Mack are the authors. But if you read the history and you see, it's so important that when you read these books, you get to know the styles. You will, when you read enough of these, you will get to know the style of the writing, of the era, the language that they're using, the terminologies, the style, right? I don't really know how to describe that style. And you'll see it, you'll witness it, you'll witness the changes of Mormonism in these old stories, in these old books, because these old books come out with a scathing article or review or whatever, and then the Mormon story that me and you know is the answer to that story. And now the story it's stuck. They have to maintain that story. So that story now evolves over time. And that's what's happening here. That is what Mormon history is. It's an author, an article, or something like that will come out with a book rebuking Mormonism for whatever reasons. At first, when you read these books, when you get into the early days, the 1830s and 40s, they're talking about the Joseph Smith story. and the Book of Mormon. None of this other stuff has happened yet. We're in 1841, right? 1842. Remember, this channel does not go past. We go from the late 1700s to when Joseph died. That's where we read. That's our area of interest. And then on second note, we go from 1844 to 1880, right? I've yet to read a book in 1890. I've read two in 1901 and 1902, but that was more of a just I wanted to see them, and I've never reported on them. I read those like a year ago, and this is the very first time I've ever mentioned it. So that tells you where my time frame is, that my area of interest, right? Okay. And when you read these, you see the story, you see what's unfolding, you see what's happening here. The Mormon story is the answer to all of these critics. And that answer is what evolves over time. And then once Joseph Smith dies, more or less, it opens the gates for a new, now the Joseph story's over. We don't have to worry about that. We can start fresh. And that's what they did, is they started fresh. And so, and you can see that through these old books, and you can see that progression. Okay, apostates, now I'm just rambling and going on and on and on. So like and subscribe to the channel. I hope you guys found this informative. I hope when you do your own research, you can use, I mean, who would have thought Omen? Would you have looked up that? Would you have looked that up, apostates, if you saw that? Or would you have just dismissed it and said, oh, it's just a misprint? Because that's what the church says. It's just a misprint. But if you look it up and you actually research it, you can date it. So is what we figured out on tonight was we figured out what we don't know. We've never seen the Book of Mormon that these authors are talking about. Nobody has. Nobody in today's modern world has ever seen whatever Book of Mormon they're talking about. Because what we see today, the very earliest version is the 1879 version. Full stop. Full stop. There is nothing prior to the 1879 version, the Orson Pratt. So we're all being taken to the back alley, apostates. Like and subscribe to the channel. Remember, this channel is not monetized. It will never be monetized. So the only way that you can support the Mormon Atheist is to like and subscribe to the channel. Like the videos, share the videos, tell your friends, read the books, talk about the Mormon Atheist. I don't care, whatever. Just tell people, get the word out. That's what I want, is the word out. I don't care about your money. I don't want your money, because as you are finding out, you people are donating to these other ex-Mormon channels, and they're not even ex-Mormons. They say it themselves, okay? And you're donating to these channels. You're being taken to the brothel, right? It's the prostitution ring. You're literally giving your money away, and I don't want you to do that. I can't bring myself to uncover this kind of stuff and take your money knowing that that's okay. That's not okay. It's not okay. You can't do that. So please, apostates, like and subscribe is the way that you can help the Mormon Atheist. I don't want your money. I'm not interested in selling merch. I'm not interested in this is information. I want you to have it, and I want you to go out and look it up for yourself. I give you dates. I give you all this stuff. I give you book names, every one of my videos. So please go back and watch videos. If you're a new subscriber, if you're new to the channel, thank you for taking the time to stop by. I very much appreciate it, and I hope that you find some kernel of interest in all of this. Okay, apostates, we will see you on the next go around. Remember, we are all William Morgan. William Morgan was the first whistleblower. He was telling everybody that the Church of Masonry is coming, and he got killed for it. Okay, the book I'm reading now, that's we're already too long. I'll go into that later. All right, the Church of Masonry is coming. The Church of Masonry is the LDS Church, and he got killed for that. So he was trying to warn us. David Brainerd took his book and finished Morgan's book and lays out the entire plan. So the Church of Masonry is the LDS Church. All of the anti-Masonic books talk about it. We are all William Morgan. Thank you, Apostate Congregation. We will see you on the next go around. Have a nice night.